What is up, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the SomeWhatSports Podcast. My name is Chris, and I am joined by only one titan of the industry this week, and it is Damien. Jurg is not here because he's doing winner things stuff that winners do. I don't know what that is, but
It's not us.
it's not us. It's not us. It's Jurg. It's Jurg. He's a winner for a reason. But Dame, how are you this week?
I'm doing good. Do I have anything to talk about? No, I don't. I actually found my AirPods. The old AirPods that a few episodes ago I was complaining about that I lost. They're in under a seat of my parents' car. So it's good news
Solid,
there.
solid.
Yep.
Great. Well, yeah. I actually have to get my ears checked out because I feel like one of them is like clogging up. So I'm not wearing AirPods or earpods for the time being. So fuck that. But I'm glad you found them because money saved is a good thing in life. All right. Pretty slow news week this week, I'd say. NFL, we're reaching the dead zone as the Super Bowl just passed us. We're recording on Thursday tonight. NBA returns, but there's been no storylines. Just a few, cosmetic storylines here and there. Just a few minor ones that aren't really worth mentioning, besides one that we will talk about. But other than that, pretty dry on that end. And then baseball, which is what we're going to talk about today as well. Lockout season, Dame. I know you're excited about that. Just
Not
no
really.
baseball. There's been updates here and there, but again, you and Jurg, but Jurg is not here. You are the baseball connoisseur this week. So how about we start off with that? Inform me, Dame. Educate me. What's going on with the lockout in MLB? Are we getting close to having a modicum of hope that we're gonna have baseball this year or next year? I don't even know when. Let me know. Talk to me.
Well, MLB and the Players Association have been in a lockout since the first week of December, like December 3rd or something like that. MLB couldn't reach an agreement, so they locked out the players. And honestly, from December to I think January, it went like a month span without them having any meetings, which to be honest to me is kind of ridiculous because there's money to be made on both sides. And at the end of the day, the fans are suffering the most because they're not getting off-season action because during a lockout, players and teams can't talk. Players can be training with the teams, like training sites and stuff like that. There can be no contact at all. So at the end of the day, everyone's suffering because owners not going to make money. Their players aren't going to get better. The players aren't going to be making money. The players aren't going to be getting better. At the end of the day, the fans lose the most because they're the ones that are paying for the entertainment to be seen. So it's kind of ridiculous to me that it took them a month to meet for the first time. Then after that first time, it just got not that it got worse, but it's not like it got any better because they were meeting once a week, and every time it was just like a counter proposal from one side. So in my opinion, they should have been meeting every day, which they are doing this week. Starting on this past Monday, they have been meeting every single day at 1:00 for a few hours actually, which is something they should have been doing the day after the lockout started. Which is I don't know, it doesn't make sense to me why they didn't. I don't know which side is to blame for that, but I'm just gonna blame both sides because it's kind of ridiculous. But yeah, they've been meeting every day. Honestly, it's a good sign because they are meeting every day because you, like I said, you haven't really seen all these meetings and talks in the past few weeks and months. But from the reports that these guys are coming out with, there really hasn't been much progress in these meetings. They've agreed on a couple things such as the universal DH. They agreed on a draft lottery. Although draft lottery, they're still kind of going over how many teams are going to be in the lottery because it's not going to be all the teams that have missed the playoffs. I think like the owners and stuff want 4 teams and the players want like 9 teams or something like that. But that's easily something they could compromise on. Obviously, a universal DH, that's just something that it needed to be done. Both sides needed it to be done. They just were using as a kind of negotiating tactic. Another thing that they agreed on is expanded playoffs. I personally is not a fan of this because I think it just adds bad teams to the playoffs. Like last year, the Cincinnati Reds would have made it under these current expanded playoffs that the league has implemented. So I personally don't like it, but like at the end of the day, it's gonna make owners a shit ton of money. So that's why they're doing it. But two of the major sticking points that I'm just gonna not quickly go over, but just mention that they're really separated on is the collective bargaining agreement, which is basically the luxury tax, or in baseball, in other sports team terms, like the salary cap. But neither the players nor owners wants to name in a salary cap because they don't want to have that stigma of having like a cap of how much teams can spend. But at the end of the day, this luxury tax or collective bargaining tax thing is operates as a luxury tax because if you go over it, you either have to pay a certain amount of money or you lose draft picks, you lose international free agency money and stuff like that. So what the players have been offering is a lot. Well, the current CB luxury tax is $210 million. That's like quote unquote salary cap that you could go over if you want. You're just gonna have to pay a lot of taxes and you're gonna lose draft picks. The players wanted to go up to 245 million, and then year by year go to 252, 259, 266, and 273. And then you have the owners, on the other hand, who really don't want it to go up that much, with their proposal being $214 million, which is only a $4 million jump. So that's a $26 million difference, and wanted to go up only by $2 million a year. To me, the problem with each side is obviously the owners. I think they don't want it to go up as much, and their increments per year is too little. On the other hand, I think the players are definitely asking for too much, but I definitely think there's a middle ground that they could go to. And maybe instead of $2 million or $7 million per year growth, you could settle at five. Like there's middle ground to be found here. I think five is the every year how much it should go up, and they just need to find a middle ground of how much the actual tax should be. Probably 225, 230, something like that could be a middle ground, but both these sides are really strict on keeping their numbers in this because obviously the players want to be paid more. If the luxury tax is higher, teams will have more of an opportunity to spend on their teams and these players. You see these record contracts year by year getting bigger and bigger with Garrett Cole and now Max Scherzer topping that. You have Fernando Tatis's mega deal. Like all these guys are getting paid more and more every year because they're trying to top the previous player at the position. So as it goes up, players want to be paid more, but owners want to kind of lower that so they have an excuse to not pay players. Hal Steinbrenner of the Yankees. But another thing about that tax is, like I mentioned before, is the stuff that goes with it once you go over it. That's the penalties. I think they took away the draft picks, the loss of draft picks if you go over the tax, but I think owners wanted to be like over the first threshold of the luxury tax you go over, it's like you pay 50% on the dollar, and then it's like 100% on the dollar, and then it's 150 on the dollar. Like that's absolutely ridiculous. It's not going to happen. On the other hand, the players want like absolutely no penalties. So this is something that I don't think is going to get fixed in a couple of days. I know just to let you guys know, the owners did set a deadline for these talks. So regular season games can't be missed. That's February 28th. I think that's this upcoming Monday. They said if a deal can't be reached by them, they're gonna start postponing regular season games to begin the season in April. The other thing that they're kind of in the middle of and talking about that this is something the players are really hard on because they want all their players to be paid well. It's the league minimum pay. Just to go over how much every major sports league is paid at the minimum. You have the NFL, which is $660K. You have the NBA, which is the highest at $925K. You have the NHL at $750K, and you have MLB at $570K, which is obviously the lowest. In my opinion, I don't think MLB should be the lowest because they have the most amount of games. They play 162 games a year, and I get it. It's not as taxing on your body as say the NBA is or NFL is or NHL is, but they are playing 160 games a year, and a lot of the times maybe playing 20 games in a row on the road or at home, whatever it may be. So I do think their minimum should definitely be raised, and this is something the players are really hard on because they want to look out for the players that are not getting paid all these millions of dollars. But the proposals that I'm going to tell you that the players want 775K as the bare minimum, and MLB wants it only at 640. Now, there's definitely compromise there. You can just compromise at 700K, but obviously there's a lot of negotiation go with it. My opinion on this is I'm siding with the players on this because fully on the players. I'm not going on the middle of it like I think the collective bargaining and the luxury tax should be, but I'm definitely on the players on this side because I do think 775K as a minimum, and that would place them barely second place among the four major sports teams, right ahead of NHL and below the NBA. 775K as a minimum for playing 162 games is definitely where it should be at. But just to overall sum it up and answer your main question, I don't think it's going to get done this week. I do think regular season games are going to get delayed. They're meeting currently right now. The meeting obviously started at 1. I know a lot of players flew in today. I don't think it's going to go anywhere. I think it's going to be little increments of progress every single day. But I don't think they're going to get regular season. I don't think we're going to play a full 162 games. And I know this hurts you and your fellow Mets fans because you have a lot of hope this year. Me personally, I could care less because the Yankees and their front office and everything about them just really infuriates me. So if they got to postpone it, they got to postpone it. It really doesn't matter to me. I hope it doesn't get postponed because I love baseball. I love going to baseball games. I love watching it. And I definitely love the offseason. And the offseason really can't start until the lockout is over and teams and players could talk to each other. But it's sad to see this because baseball, a lot of people talk about it, how it's a dying game and a dying sport and people aren't watching anymore. And like, this is not something that's going to help bring in a younger audience and help improve the overall product of the sport. So it's really sad to see. I hope I'm wrong. I hope they come to agreement today, tomorrow, whatever, maybe before the deadline. And so we don't have to cancel games. But I think once games are canceled and players start losing paychecks and owners are losing money because they aren't bringing in merchandise or ticket sales or whatever it may be, I think that's when a sense of urgency will really kick in, and one side or the other is gonna budge more and really reach their agreement. But my prediction will be that the regular season games will be missed.
Wow. Beautifully said, Dame. Beautifully said. Yeah, man. No baseball during the summer just feels weird.
It's awful. Like, I'm not
Just
a Mets fan, but I like going to Mets games. It's fun. Baseball games are fun. They're not like football games where it's cold. They're not basketball games where it's really the same dome and everything. Like, you go to a rec and see the same kind of product, just bigger
mhm.
guys dunking. Like, baseball games, it's not an event, I want to say, but it's a fun activity to do with your friends in good weather outside. Like, it's fun.
Mhm.
And to see fans suffer and not really be able to go through that because millionaires and billionaires are arguing about a few thousands of dollars, like, it's kind of ridiculous and it's kind of sad.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I mean, like, think about it. Like, football's done. NBA finishes during the summer. Us sports fans usually had baseball to like kind of lean back on. We might not even have that during the summer, so we might not have a whole summer of sports, bro.
Yeah, exactly. You go right after Super Bowl, you have kind of that dead period until like the baseball starts, and then you're like, oh, sports are back, and then the baseball starts, and you have the NBA playoffs, this and that, and then the NFL offseason, the draft, and all that. And now baseball's going to lose that time where they could be really revived. That's when a lot of fans tune into baseball in the beginning of the season because they have nothing to watch, and that's when you could have brought in fans that aren't really fans and grow the game. But now when you're a lockout and everything's going to be pushed back, by that time it's going to be NBA Finals. No one's going to be watching you. NFL is going to be starting up again, so you're going to lose a lot of fans and money that way.
So your expectation of things getting done, things getting settled is low as of now?
Yeah, it's very low.
Okay.
I
All
don't
right.
think it's going to be like a majority season is going to be lost, but I definitely think maybe half a month or a month of the season will be lost.
Okay. Damn. Well, very sad, but I don't know. I mean, you said it beautifully, Dame. You explained it perfectly. Maybe when Jurg gets back, he could also explain his side on how he feels about it. But yeah, man, really bad situation for all parties involved. But we'll see how it goes going forward. All right, let's move on over to some NBA news. It's not really news, but it's something NBA related. Dame Zion Williamson's in the news, bro.
Fat boy.
Um, let's keep it civil. All right, let's keep it civil.
Yeah,
Let's
okay.
calm down. All right. So there was, I think it was during All Star Weekend that CJ McCollum, I think inside the NBA crew was interviewing CJ McCollum, and he said he hasn't talked to Zion Williamson, and he's gonna get to the quote unquote bottom of it. I don't know what that meant, but yeah, basically people took it as yeah Zion Williamson didn't call him when he got traded, and then everyone was making a big fuss about it. Adds on to all the Zion dilemmas that have occurred over the past few months. Zion Williamson, I think, had foot surgery before the season started, rehabbed away from the team. There's news that he might need a second surgery. We'll talk about that. And then this whole CJ McCollum thing came out. And now, I mean, then there was also like people from his camp kind of, saying like, I'm not word for word, but basically like the Pelicans, aren't doing right by him, this and that. A whole mess. Now, Dame, I think we could speak for both of us. I could speak for Jurg too. We all think Zion is an immensely talented NBA basketball player.
Of course.
Um, he, when healthy, has the potential to be. Well, that one is very, italicized, but like when healthy, he could be one of the three cornerstones of the league going forward. In my opinion, would you agree with that?
Yes, of course. He's number one pick for a reason.
Made the play in for him.
Yeah, it literally the league made a play in tournament for him to make the playoffs. Still
Mhm.
couldn't get it done though.
Yep. Yep. That's not our problem though. That's Pelicans fans' problems. Anyway, so yeah. And then there was that whole thing of like David Griffin going to his hotel room, playing a piano, all that stuff. Just jokes. But anyway, jokes aside, I feel like there's a lot of smoke coming from that end. So I look before let's preface this by saying we are Knicks fans, so we might have a specific take on this, but let's be objective here. All right, let's be fair on all sides, and then we'll talk about certain things that might relate to our team. So yeah, I mean, it's weird because I think let's talk about the CJ McCollum thing because that's the most recent one. I don't necessarily want to fault Zion as much as a lot of people are like saying like, "What are you doing? Like you should call CJ McCollum." At the end of the day, because I remember, do you remember, bro, when Derrick Rose caught like OD shit for like not calling LeBron during free agency to try and recruit him?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
and then like a part of me was just like, oh, it's not Derrick Rose's character, He's like a quiet, reserved dude. But then again, it's like if you want to win championships, that's what you're gonna have to do. I think the situation here is a little different because those two, like that scenario, kind of remind me of this one. This one's kind of different because I do like Zion's still 21. I don't. He seems like he's the face of the franchise, but he's not like a vocal leader. Like I also think he has qualities similar to Derrick Rose, where he's kind of reserved and kind of laid back, not the vocal guy. He's passionate, of course, but like he's not the type to like kind of gather the troops. I don't necessarily know if I like want to fault him for not calling CJ. At the beginning, I do think he actually did call him. When recording this podcast has been updated that he has actually hit him up. But like at first, I was a little bit lenient because I'm like, he's a young guy. It's not really his character. It's this inexperience of being like a team leader and immaturity a little bit. But that's his age, man. Like he's not LeBron here. I mean, were you like? How did you feel about that? Him not calling CJ? Were you as lenient as me, or were you kind of just like, nah, you should have called him?
No, I'm not as lenient as you. I definitely think he should have called him. Maybe not call him, but shoot him a text, be like,
Yeah.
hey, like, bro, like, welcome to the team. Like, I can't wait to get back, or when I get back to like the team, we should definitely go out for a dinner or something like that. Like, it's not like CJ McCollum's some bum. I'm not saying he's a superstar, but he's a well-established star in this league that will definitely help Zion be successful if he stays with the Pelicans and stays healthy. I get it. He's been away for the team working out, but you still should be able to shoot him a text, congratulating him and welcoming him into the team and tell him you'll get together with him.
Yeah, yeah, I feel you. I feel you. Yeah, just a little, just a shoot. Yeah, just basically a welcome to the team type of message. Probably would have sufficed. That would have been satisfactory for all parties. Um, but I think this speaks to a larger, discussion because JJ Redick also came out on TV and said that he can confirm the reports that Zion Williamson is a detached teammate. And like, of course, he thinks he's a great kid and all that, and he's rooting for him. And I think we all are. But it seems like from day one, it seems like Zion didn't want to be there. You know,
Mm-hmm.
um, but it doesn't mean that he shouldn't have embraced, the culture there and actually embraced being the face of that team and kind of revitalize a team that just lost Anthony Davis. He never embraced that. I think the injuries have also taken a toll on him mentally to a point where he's just like, man, I can't really focus because of like all this shit. People are cutting my ass for having weight problems. We're not excused from that, but I kind of feel like it's a combination of he just can't do it because he's like mentally detached, but also he doesn't want to do it. I think it's like somewhere in between. And I think a lot of people are focusing on like he just doesn't want to be there, which I think it's a fair point. But I know, like JJ Redick may say he's detached, but also the Pelicans are not a great organization here. I think like the CJ McCollum thing was more so David Griffin like saving his job, last minute heave, but they're not a perfect organization. But this is just a whole mess, man. Yeah. What are your take? What's your take on all this?
Definitely agree with what you said that I wouldn't put it all on Zion because the Pelicans are a fault here for being such a shitty organization. Maybe if he was put into a more stable franchise or more stable front office, stable owner, stable just culture and environment, he would have been better off. But I mean, a lot of this does fall on Zion. Like he's just not be able to stay healthy, stay in shape, and at the end of the day, I know he's been away from the team, and maybe that's best for his rehab, and I'm fine with that. I have no problem with that. But like I said, even if you're away from the team, you definitely communicate with teammates or guys that are coming in, and at the end of the day, he just needs to get in shape. That's the biggest thing for him. And joking around that he's fat is whatever it is. He's not fat, obviously, but he's out of shape. And being out of shape is the reason he's injured all the time. Honestly, he's putting a lot of weight on that foot, and obviously hasn't been able to rehab it the right way because of all the weight he has put on and stuff. So he needs to get in shape. He needs to get his act together, and I think he definitely needs to mature as a leader if he wants to be the face of his franchise or be one of the best top players in the league that players want to play with. Because if they see him like this as a young player that can't stay healthy, that doesn't communicate with his teammates, that players that used to play him are coming as a detached teammate, like who's going to want to play with him in the future? He's obviously, whether he stays in New Orleans and wants to recruit players there, they're not going to come there because it's the New Orleans Pelicans. Like they'll come there because of
Zion.
Zion.
Yeah.
Exactly. And if Zion wants to recruit players there, he's going to have to mature as a player and show that he can stay healthy and be a contributing factor to the championship team. Or if he wants to go somewhere else, like what if those players don't want him to come there and talk to their front office, be like, I'm not so all in on bringing Zion here because of the things I heard about him or the fact that he can't stay healthy and stuff. So for his NBA future going forward, whether it's with the Pelicans or not, I definitely think he's going to kind of have to mature and definitely get in shape.
Yeah, I think him being out of shape, and I think the foot thing is huge because of the foot injury, it's hard for him to get in shape, right?
Yeah.
So, and he's a big dude, and we've all like said this before, but it's kind of difficult for him to kind of accelerate the process. And yeah, I think you're right. The thing is, bro, is Zion is like an all encompassing figure that like he is the team, no matter what team he
Mm-hmm.
goes to. But yeah, there's a lot of things he needs to work on: maturity, team leadership, all that stuff. But it felt like he just never wanted to be there from the get go. He should. Jurg said it, I think, accurately, that it's too early for him to be like kind of acting like this. Now, again, we're dudes who don't know anything that's going on behind the scenes. The Pelicans are not safe in this scenario because they're at fault as well. But he's kind of pulling some quote unquote diva antics a little too early on. He's not even finished with his rookie contract, bro.
Exactly. He hasn't really proven anything to be able to have the kind of, I guess, status he wants to have in the NBA or with the Pelicans. Like,
Yeah, yeah,
I'm
but
not saying you have to go out and win an MVP or win championships right away, but prove you can stay healthy, stay on the court, and put on a show for the teams and players. Like,
no, yeah, I agree. But it's a mess all around. But I don't think he's necessarily a bad teammate. Like I think all the teammates love him. I think he loves all his teammates. I just don't think it's his character to be like, yeah, we're here, this is us, this and that.
mm-hmm.
But if he wants to be, I mean, I don't even know what he wants to do at this point. If he wants to be like one of the cornerstones of the league, if he wants to be that guy, you're gonna have to adjust. You're gonna have to start doing things that are out of your comfort zone, man. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying be LeBron in terms of like gathering the troops, but you need to start adjusting things as you get older. And again, like I think we should give him a pass because he only is 21 right now. He's dealt with a lot of things. This dude's getting fat shamed every time like he's in public, which is why I think he's away from the team. Actually, I do think that was kind of getting to him. So we're at fault as well, Dame. Let's not act like we're not bullies here. So I do because I think Jackson Hayes came out and, like he said while they were at games, people like some of the people in the crowd would shout some derogatory terms, would shout shit at Zion,
Wow, I didn't know
and
that.
I'm assuming it's what a lot of people have said, but even
Yeah.
like in more vulgar terms. So I understand why he's kind of out of the spotlight. It was kind of becoming a big storyline. He needs to get his psyche right in order for him to kind of get back to 100. And if he's just around toxicity with the fans, especially from what Jackson Hayes is saying, I kind of understand why he's out of the public. But there are things he needs to work on. Now, this brings us to let's not get ahead of ourselves, but let's talk about it. Where do you think now? Oh, I forgot to bring this up. The Pelicans, I think a few days ago, I think they released their season ticket.
Oh yeah,
their season ticket package
mm-hmm.
For next year, and I think they marketed Brandon Ingram. I think CJ McCollum. I'm not sure, but anyway, Zion was not there.
Yeah,
So
that was weird.
There's a possibility. There's a possibility, in my opinion, that they know something we don't. They just don't want to leak it yet. There's a possibility that maybe the Pelicans are kind of possibly focusing on life after Zion. Because I feel like if anything were to get done, it would be this offseason, right? If anything were to get done, it would be this offseason. Because he's eligible for a contract extension, I think this offseason, I believe.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah,
Because
so
Cam
something
Reddish is same draft class.
Yeah, so something needs to give with that. But the fact that he wasn't on the ticket package, they weren't marketing him, very weird. They might know something that we don't, and they don't want it to leak yet because they are in the midst of making a play-in run. So maybe they just want to focus on that and not this outside noise. I think with the injuries and everything and him being detached from the organization, I have a question for you. If they were to trade him, I mean, do you think, like now that everything kind of came out, do you think it would be more difficult or less difficult to acquire him in a trade package than it was like a few months ago?
For other teams, right? If it was,
Yeah.
I think it just stays the same. Honestly, I don't think it really
You
makes
think
a
they're gonna ask for a
difference.
king's ransom?
I think they're gonna ask for a king's ransom anyway, but I think I would say it's harder for the team to pull the trigger on giving
Mm,
up that king's ransom. I think it'd be easier for him to give up a king's ransom before the stuff started coming out,
right.
before you kind of see that he's actually is injury prone. He's all these kind of comments about him as a leader or whatever. I think it'd be harder for him to pull a king's ransom, but I think that at the end of the day is the fair kind of deal to trade for a guy as Zion because there is all that potential there, and if you could untap that potential and kind of get him right, like any kind of king's ransom will be worth it.
Right. I agree. But excuse me. Yeah, and also teams might be fearful. They might be fearful
Exactly.
because just like you don't know what you're getting. And it also depends on the like which team trades for him. If a small market similar to New Orleans trades for Zion, what's like you might be getting the same situation here where he's detached, he doesn't want to do shit with you. Whereas a bigger market team, and you know where we're getting at here, if they trade for
The
him,
Lakers,
THT and Kendrick Nunn, second round pick, gets it done.
2027's first round pick.
Dude, I mean,
2029 becomes available this offseason. They could trade 2029 this offseason. So
we're
you're
just
gonna
we're
hear a
just
lot of that.
we're just trading elementary school students at this point, bro. But it's you're fearful at the fact of just like what he might be when you trade him. Now, a lot of people speculate that it's possible that if he goes to if there's a change in scenery, it could be like better for him. It could revitalize his energy, and his effort and just like his wanting of being at that team. But then you have a team like the Knicks that we support. I think they're a big factor in this. And I'm not even saying this as like a biased fan, but I do think. Look, I think it's out there that Zion wanted New York. In the 2019 draft. We got the third pick. He went first. We got RJ. I'm still happy about that. I'm more than happy that we have RJ, to be honest. And I think a lot of Knicks fans should be happy that we have him. But I do think the makings of a possible trade to the Knicks is there. I'm not saying it's going to happen. I don't even think I think it's unlikely that it does happen. But I do think the makings, whatever the phrases are there. Um, I think with everything that's coming out, I don't think the package to get him. I think it's going to take a lot to get him, but I don't think it's going to be as much as it was a few months ago. I think again, it's not going to take a lot. It's not going to take as much to get him now. He's detached. They're not marketing him. The Knicks stayed put this trade deadline. Knicks have a ton of assets. Cam Reddish and RJ are on the Knicks. He wanted New York from the 2019 draft, from what we know. What do we think, Dame? What do we think of all this smoke? Do you think the makings are there? As Knicks fans, we're immune to just, disappointment. I'm not even getting excited. Even if we do trade for him, there's a lot of questions that, his health is one of them. He needs to get paid a lot. RJ's up for an extension as well. Cam Reddish as well, right? And is this there's a lot of questions, right? But what do you make of all this smoke? What do you make of the smoke between Zion and the Knicks possibly? Because you know that's deep down, that's where he wants to go. You know that's where he wants to go, and especially we have a feeling that Tibbs is going to be fired soon. He's not going to be the coach, I think. And also Leon Rose, head of CEA. CEA represents Zion. Everything's kind of there, right? Unlikely that it happens. So don't come at us in the comments saying, "Oh, bias Homer Knicks fans." No, no, no. I'm just saying there's a lot of smoke there. What do you make of this theory that I'm spewing right now, bro?
Man, I'm just not gonna get my hopes up.
No, no, no. I'm just saying.
Yeah, I know. It's just there's definitely a smoke there, obviously, because the Knicks do have assets. I'm not saying they have the best assets in any possible deal,
Yeah.
but they definitely have the assets. They are New York. They are that big city, big brand. Zion obviously wanted to be there in the draft, and obviously his two Duke teammates are there. RJ, like his best friend. So there definitely is something there, and I think something that I could definitely push for is if Zion comes out publicly or with his agent and says that New York is where he wants to be. Um, but I think it's gonna be hard for the Knicks to make a deal because they're not gonna trade RJ in that deal, and they're not gonna trade Cam because they're gonna. That's one of the big reasons Zion would want to go there, right? I think everybody else would be on the table. Obviously, Randall, quickly, you have Grimes, you have the draft picks and stuff like that. I think the deal would be definitely centered on draft picks because I think the draft picks have more value than these other guys do.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how many draft picks are going to be. It honestly might be like 4 and then like 3 of the young guys like OP quickly and just Randall too. I think that would be something of what the deal would look like. But I definitely wouldn't trade RJ or Cam in that deal. Well, I would give Cam if it came down to it, but I just don't think Zion would be okay with that. And I think that'd be one of his demands of keeping RJ and Cam no matter what.
I think one of the big reasons why we traded for Cam was
Just to leave that door a little cracked open, like a little
yes, yes.
centimeter open. Right. So yeah, I think it'd be definitely hard for the Knicks to do that. Because I think they're better packages out there. So I definitely think if it were to happen, not gonna get my hopes up, but I think it would have to be a lot to do with Zion pushing it himself or through his agency or whatever, and saying that New York is where he wants to be, and hopefully New Orleans would work with him on that. Because other than that, I think teams would definitely have better packages because they could give better young budding stars than the Knicks can, and I think that's more valuable than draft picks would be.
Yeah, I think it's a little weird because on one hand, on one hand, the Pelicans do have leverage. He's on a rookie contract, he's eligible for a max rookie extension, which they could offer him. Does he take the qualifying offer? There's always been talk of who's that one player that takes a qualifying offer, and with his injury history, does he actually risk it and take the qualifying offer and then become an unrestricted free agent? But you don't know how his health is going to hold up. So they have the money there. Do they want to re-sign him with all this shit that's coming out? I don't know, but they can, right? And if he just wants to kind of secure his financial future, Pelicans have the leverage because they can't offer him that max. On the other hand, if he wants New York, he basically I think other teams also kind of see what's going on and they're going to be like, "Well, we're not going to offer you as much because we're not going to get 100% him buying in." And then there we go. Zion has leverage for that because if teams know this, they're not going to give a crazy offer, so they're going to be forced to kind of trade Zion to New York, and because the Knicks would be the only game in town, they wouldn't have to give up as many assets as we think they would.
Mm-hmm.
So it's very back and forth in terms of who has leverage. This is pure speculation, by the way. This is just based on what we know. This is based on what's been out there. But yeah, I don't it's weird. All parties are at fault here, but I do think I'm not getting hopeful. Nothing, bro. Literally nothing. Zero hope. I'm immune from the nonsense. I'm immune from hope. I'm eradicating it. But I do think odds may be low on my favor. I think Zion gets traded this offseason.
This offseason.
I think he gets traded this offseason.
That's a bold take. My prediction for a long run would definitely be him leaving. But I just don't see how he doesn't sign that extension. The Pelicans just want to keep him for that extension to try to work it out. It would have to be something that, like you said a few minutes ago, like it's something that we don't know, and that's why they didn't put him in the ticket thing or something like that. It has to be something we don't know because I just see it. It's just hard for me to believe that he doesn't sign that max extension based off his injury history, of course, and just securing the bag without playing a full season. And for the Pelicans having 4 or 5 years, him locked in and trying to make it work on one of the most potential players like possible. So, but that's a bold take. If it does happen, it'd be a very, very exciting offseason.
It will. Wow. Just, dude, 3 years in, Zion gets traded already. That'd be crazy. But, like, I don't know, man. It's just, you're going to have to deal with the baggage of being a Pelican then if you're going to re-sign. Like, I get it. Your financial future, you're stable, all of that. But you can't be coming out complaining about shit afterwards. Because you're going to, and again, this is a players' league. So he could force a trade a year or 2 years in, right? We saw Ben Simmons do it. It's possible for that to happen. I do think, oh man, it's just, you're going to have to live with it. As Knicks fans, the Knicks will probably move regardless. This is just kind of a pipe dream at this point. We're just kind of like reacting to the smoke that's out there. But yeah, man, I just think something's happening. We don't know. Zion Williamson just posted a story reposting Willie Hernangomez's IG story of them just helping Zion. And he said, "My dogs for life," 100 emoji. And then I think a few days ago, he posted up Devontae Graham's story because it was his birthday or something like that, his highlights. So it seems that he heard, all the criticism of him being a detached teammate, and he took it to heart. And of course, to disprove that theory, what better way than to post Instagram stories picking your teammates up, right? But I do think if he does get, again, comments are going to slander us, but I do think if he does get traded to the Knicks, we're going to see a revitalization of character. Health-wise, I don't know, because he's still out of shape. That's like, your health isn't gonna improve if you get traded to New York. But I do think you're gonna, effort will be there, motivation will be there. Of course, you're with your two boys. You're in the biggest city in the world. Come on now, and then you're in front of the best fans of the world. I'm just saying, bro. You think Zion wasn't watching that Knicks-Hawks playoff series last year, bro, and seeing how that Garden was reacting? That RJ dunk?
Yeah, I'm sure he was.
Sure he was. But other than that, we'll just see how this goes. I do think it'll get quiet going forward because we're kind of gearing towards the last the last point of the season. And then playoffs are kind of around the corner for the NBA, bro. There's 20-something games left. And then after that off season, we could speculate as much as we want. But I hope he does get traded because I just love movement in the NBA. It's so fun to talk about. Yeah, but who knows? A bunch of shit's happening. So yeah, it's a slow news week this week. We don't have much else to talk about, so I say we wrap it up here. Dame, thank you as always for your expert analysis. Jurg, we miss you, of course. You'll be back next week, so no fans, don't worry about that. Now, where can they find us on the socials? Dame, I'll handle this since,
please.
Yeah. You can find us on SomeWhatSports on Instagram. We do a lot of cool shit there. We post some graphics regarding NFL, NBA. We explore a more creative side in terms of just coming up with cool shit, graphic designs, all that stuff, things that we cannot show on a YouTube video. We will be on certain platforms soon. Just stick with us. We might have some announcements on Instagram. You do have to follow us there to find out. Subscribe here, like the videos. If you want to look at our old videos and maybe call us out for some freezing cold takes, go for it. Any traction kind of helps for a small brand like us that is not known yet at all. But it's what we're here for. We keep doing it because it's fun, so we can talk about shit like this. So that'll be it this week. As always, as I said, Dame, beautiful job as always.
You as well, sir. You as well.
Thank you, bro. Thank you. And yeah, until next time, peace.